STORMCAST episode 11. Welcome. Salut. Nothing quite like a good whiskey. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for joining. Welcome. For those of you who are listening just on the pure audio platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. For those of you here on my YouTube channel, where I decided to show my face, just it's kind of like a a little humble meet and greet for you and I. Thank you so much for joining. Please don't forget to subscribe. All the good stuff. I'll go through the road, but it really helps and it encourages me to keep doing this because this thing is very vulnerable. This thing that we do, this just getting on a mic or getting behind a camera or in front of the camera and just sharing as honestly and as vulnerably as one can. It's not an easy thing to do, but I'm over here doing it. So please encourage your girl. Hit the subscribe button if you're up on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, please hit download. It helps a lot. It's really, really useful and it helps my metrics and it helps me know what you like and what you don't like, etc., etc. But for those of you who are not new, let me just remind you that over the last since I started this podcast, I've been talking about Red Circle. In fact, if you follow me on any social media platforms, of which I'm up on, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all at Follow Storms, you'll know that all this year, all I've been talking about is Red Circle, which is this intriguing whodunit thriller that I play the lead actor in, the character Fikayo Holloway. And I've been talking about how it's coming, guys. Red Circle is here. Red Circle is here. It is now. And I want to tell you about how we had advanced screening last week. And right after I recorded the last episode of the podcast, we had an advanced screening. And then we had the premiere over the weekend. And oh my goodness, so much happened. So first things first, advanced screening. So before a few weeks back, I'd been on the I Said What I Said podcast. It's a really, really popular podcast with a huge following here in Nigeria and honestly around the world. But the I Said What I Said girls are hilarious and practical and, they're people you kind of want to listen to. So their followers are quite a lot in number and they decided they wanted to start this film club with their followers. So they did. And Red Circle was the first film that they were starting with. So they invited a number of their followers. I think we had about 100 plus people show up to watch this film. And the anticipation was high. The energy was high. People were really looking forward to it. We'd had this really cute kind of meet and greet. It was kind of like a new cinema as well. So, I say meet and greet. I can be very awkward in public, guys. Please bear with me. If you meet me in public, just come say hi. If you want to say hi, because I can really be insular into myself, but I'm working on it. And we'll come to that later in this podcast. That's even another conversation for another day. But we did have a really nice start to it. It was nice just kind of gisting with everyone. I had nerves as per usual. And again, I'll talk about those nerves. But everything was going really well. I was excited. Cinema started filling up. I was like, oh, guys, they're going to see this film. The cinema is filling up. Everyone's getting their seats. They have their popcorn. They have their drinks. It's all very cute. I'm sitting with Omomi because Omomi has come out as well. And, we fast become friends through the process of filming this project. I'm learning so much from her. I'm learning so much from all the cast members. Anyways, we're sat together. We're cuddled up. I have my little cashmere, pashmina scarf thing because cinemas are chilly, so make sure you take something warm. And then the film starts and it's these beautiful bright bold colors. You have the characters appearing on screen, you have mouths moving, you have motion and action, and there is no sound. Jesus, I began to look around that way. Can you hear? My heart began to beat out of my chest. Guys, our film was showing to audiences for the first time and there was no sound. They could not hear anything that they're supposed to be hearing. Then we started hearing small sound picking up the back. I said, okay, maybe they're fixing it. It was only Foley sound. It was only the background ambience that we could hear. I said, Jesus, enemies are here. Our enemies have got us. Do you know what it is to start a film and not hear the opening sounds for the film? Do you really understand what that means? The start of a film is its whole emotional payoff. That is what introduces the audience to the world of the film. Every single detail at that beginning, the first few seconds, is really when you catch your audience's attention or not. And our audience, they cannot hear. There was no sound. Chaos and pandemonium. Not for the audience, because they were just kind of like, was really, hey, we have to stop the film. I ran down, went to the back. Of course, like a number of our team as well, Red Circle, were in there as well trying to fix the issue. So we got the film to stop and we started apologizing to the audience. I did the first apology, like, guys, please do bear with us. We're experiencing slight technical issues. We're going to get this fixed so you can get back on this film. Lo and behold, hey guys, I just want you to know that despite your best efforts, if you are functioning in a society that doesn't really function 100%, that society is going to happen to you. And it happened to us. Hey, new film, no sound. Jesus. They are going to eat us alive. Wow. And the thing is, before this started, I was nervous. Now, nerves are not a new thing for me. I tend to get a little bit nervous before any performance, public speaking, viewing, anything honestly that matters to me. That's just the way I see it. I see nerves as a sign of care. I see it as a sign that I want the best possible outcome for whatever is about to unfold, that I want to see the best possible end result for whatever it is I'm looking at, for whatever it is I'm venturing into. Nerves for me are a vital indicator of my investment and my passion. That's how I look at nerves. But if it goes too far, nerves can be debilitating. They can stop you from action. It can turn into fear. It can turn into overthinking. It can turn into so many things. But at the beginning of this, I did have nerves. I remember people asking me, how do you feel? I was like, I'm a little bit nervous. So we're like, why? I said, because I want people to like it. I want them to enjoy this thing that we've done, because I've seen it. I enjoyed it, but I saw it a while ago. I saw it in December. So I was like, I may enjoy this in December, or is it that I'm stuck in my own bubble? Because does it ever occur to you where you do something or you put out work in a public space, or you just enjoy something so much and then you want somebody else to enjoy it, so you're trying to describe it to them and you're like, guys, no, you should really see this thing, and then you're like, wait, have I overhyped it? Did I make this up? Is this just me? Is it only me? Is it only me? Anyways, come back to our cinema and no sound. Chaos, pandemonium, different people falling out from different places, phone calls going left and right. What's going on? Eventually, the sound issue was resolved. The film started again, and I had to start again regardless, even if we weren't going to solve that sound issue, because people had come from far and wide to watch this thing and it was running late. And we're like, well, if we don't start the film now, when are they going to finish watching the film and go home? Let's not make a bad situation worse. And the truth is, the audience didn't really notice too much, because by the time the film started playing again, it seemed like all the sound problems were resolved. And oh my goodness, what a reception. What a reception. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to accurately explain what I experienced that first public viewing, like watching other people watch this film that we made, The Red Circle. This audience was so switched on. Like, they were together watching this film. Like, every little nuance, everything that happened, they were like, no, don't. They were locked in, and I love that for them. This also reminded me that going to see a film or going to watch anything is really a community experience. Like, community really matters. Your enjoyment of something can truly be heightened or diminished depending on who it is you go with to experience an event or experience an occasion or anything. Wherever you go, the people you surround yourself with will often impact your experience of that thing. So it is so important. It is so important that you go with people who have good vibes, and not just good vibes like generic, but I mean like genuinely are there to enjoy a thing and genuinely want to see the best outcome and genuinely like just want to enjoy watching it. Because when I tell you that this first audience were the most lit audience, I mean, to be fair, They're still, Red Circle's coming out in cinema 6th of June. It's out this Friday. So I'm going to experience way more audiences. And yes, we are going to be doing like a little bit of a tour. So watch out. Your local cinema might be there somewhere. But it was humbling. The reaction was humbling. We had so many positive responses. We got a standing ovation at the end of the film. I couldn't stop smiling like a mugu, like just an idiot, grinning from ear to ear. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. I was really overwhelmed with gratitude because these people didn't have to react to this project that we made that way, but they did. And they carried it on their backs because the tweets coming out from everyone who watched it on that day have been so beautiful, and they're our first ambassadors, and that will forever be special. The I Said What I Said girls, FK Jola, guys, for putting this thing together, for encouraging it, like, thank you so much. Debbie Rowe, Debs, girl, nah, it was lit. It was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And for those of you who are listening, if you can get to a cinema nationwide in Nigeria, I highly suggest that you do, because the FOMO will end you. The FOMO that has been created by this film is serious, but beyond that, it's thoroughly entertaining, it's thoroughly thrilling, and it's something you should go watch. And I don't just say this because this is promo. I say this for a very important reason, so give me a second, okay? So I also feel like this experience is a great moment of reflection, or has been a great opportunity to reflect. One of the key reflections I've had this last week, and I've discussed in different ways with different people, is sort of the idea of how much should we care what others think and how others feel. Yeah. Like, how invested should we be in how others feel and what other people think about our actions, our behavior, our work, our worth. This reflection, I think, is particularly necessary for anybody doing work in the public space, because our work is very much intertwined with public opinion. Our work is very much intertwined with public sentiments, and how our work is received is very much intertwined, If we look at it just from the film world, there are a lot of people that are accused sometimes, or let me not say a lot, I have to be very careful with all these generalizations, but I do think that it's easy to accuse people in front of the camera and in the film world of pandering, of playing to the gallery, excuse me, of attention seeking. But isn't that kind of what the work demands to some extent? Isn't it? I don't know. I was really worried, especially when I was thinking about how nerves come into play. And I was like, well, I hope they like this work. I hope. And I was like, okay, well, what happens if you put out this film and it's negative reviews everywhere and people really just don't like the work that you did, but you were happy with the work that you did? Is that going to change your feeling and your perception of what you've done? And should it? What happens when you create something and you put it out in the world and you love what you've created, but you start getting feedback that says that other people think it's pants, it's rubbish? Should it affect the way that you feel? It's like sitting an exam. You could have jacked for your exam, studied as hard as you could have, done your best as far as you were concerned, put down answers that you're like, yeah, I feel pretty confident with that. Like, I feel like I did a good job. And then you get your exam results. And it's like, no. This is a failure. You failed. At what point do we draw that line between caring and investing in how other people feel about the things that we have done and what we've put out in the world? I think there's a balance somewhere, though. I think the balance is to be found because, unlike maybe in an exam where there's a clear right or wrong answer, there's a clear process. In the creative process, in the world, in just living, there is no clear answer. There is no clear right or wrong. There is no obvious, oh, you should have done this versus that. I believe that the answer lies honestly in practicing self-contentment, as always. And that's a hard one. And it's a lot harder to do than one would think. It's an easy thing to say that, just be confident in yourself. But my dear, if you have invested serious money, serious time, serious efforts in putting out creative endeavor, nobody likes it, it can feel so hard to keep going. It can feel so hard to keep going. But I think that's really when you have to keep pushing. You have to keep going. I think that unlike mathematics, unlike clear right or wrong situations, I think when it comes to creativity and creative output and caring, the investment really does have to be with self at all times. And it has to be with self despite what outside is saying, despite what the rest of the world is saying. One has to find an anchor so deep, and not just within self, but deeper than self. You have to find this deep anchor in purpose, in the divine, in something deeper than just your physical shell that exists in this physical world. And I know I'm going off a little bit, but that's how I truly feel. Or that's what I'm coming to note, because otherwise you will be blown every which way by the wind. How can you stay steady and steadfast and strong? Because today people may love me, but tomorrow the wind could be blowing the other way. It could be. And this was really what was reflecting in my mind. And then again, if we move it even beyond film, right? Let's move it into balancing care and detachment. So like life experiences as well. How we treat each other, how we talk to each other, how we interact with each other. We can be so vested, we can be so sure of our position that we are right, and I think I'm right a lot of the time. Hence I have my own podcast. There's so many times where we can feel like we're really right about everything, a situation where somebody is doing something that is clearly inappropriate, it clearly does not align with what we planned, it just doesn't really fit in. And because you're right, you call it out. And you call it out regardless of the consequences. You're like, yeah, I'm just going to say it like it is. I'm blunt. I'm that kind of person. I'll just say it. And sometimes you can say the thing, and the way that you say it is cutting. And it cuts to the core of somebody else. I've done that before. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't mean to. I'm just blunt too, man. Everyone needs to. And recently I've had to think about that again, especially, as time passes and you experience more situations, I guess, you begin to realize that while one may be right, being right isn't the be all and end all. How you make people feel does matter. You just have to decide whether you are willing to deal with the end consequences or not. Because how you make people feel sometimes is people's villain origin story. In case you don't know, that's how the Joker came to be, Well, maybe not quite, but still, how you make people feel really can determine the path that they take, and how they lash out at the rest of the world. And it's all because you thought that you were so right that you had to force your rightness upon someone else in a very specific way. Now, the questions that sort of came up when I was having this conversation, because I had this conversation with a group of friends, and it was very interesting actually, was like, oh, but does that mean you shouldn't be yourself? And far be it from me to say you shouldn't be yourself. I think we must always be ourselves and our most authentic selves. But I think even with being our authentic selves, there's such a thing as being honest. And I think as far as you are able to be honest, but must you be brutal about your honesty? That is the question, right? I do know a couple of people who are like, yeah, just be brutally honest. I'm like, but why brutal? Do you know the definition of brutal? Like, brutal is to brutalize. It's a deliberately aggressive word for a reason. Like, that word exists for a reason. Not frankly honest, not sincerely honest, not clearly honest, just brutally honest. You can brutalize someone with honesty, but just because you're right doesn't mean it's the right thing to do at that time. I don't think so. I think how we make people feel truly matters, because there's a place where logic stops and feelings enter the chat. We exist with both, and I think that one can apply. In fact, I read an article about this. Someone else I know wrote an article that talks about empathic rationality, and I really like that. I didn't even think that was going to factor into this our little tete-a-tete today. But empathic rationality, where, you know, and I know the article was sort of dealing with something slightly different, but I still think it applies somewhat here. And they were just basically saying that, you know, sometimes when people are going through a tough time, you just want to give them sugary hugs. Oh, everything's going to be okay, and no matter what, it's going to be, and you want to give them fluff. But there's a place for rationality in the kindness. You know, you can deliver sugar, but also a bit of medicine. You have to find that in between. And that's how I feel about caring about how other people feel, and caring about the context in which you exist in the world. You don't exist in isolation. No man is an island, right? No man exists just by themselves. And our very presence on earth means that we have to have relationships with people. You call them maybe interpersonal relationships. All of existence is based on interpersonal relationships. How you deal with one man versus another man versus another man versus another, or woman, as the case may be. And it is important, if you want to get to certain places, if you want to move forward, that you consider how other people feel. I mean, so much so that even psychopaths, like genuinely, you know, clinically diagnosed psychopaths, take that into consideration. And I don't know how I ended up on the psychopath path here, but that's where my brain went. So let me share it with you. I think there is there's balance to be found somewhere there. And this was sort of my reflection when thinking about this life I've chosen in front of the camera, and caring about what other people think and what other people say, and finding a balance. And I feel like even if you're not in front of the camera, this probably comes up in a million little ways. It comes up during appraisal. It comes up at your office with your boss. It comes up in pleasant society. It comes up with your boyfriend or girlfriend's parents. It comes up with siblings. It comes up with people in so many spaces. When you're out of your depth, when you're expanding, when you're growing. In fact, let's now enter this growth and expansion chats, shall we? So I'm in a really interesting phase of my career and my life at the moment. I feel like I'm expanding. Not I feel like I am currently expanding. I'm in this expansion and growth phase. And geez, is it overwhelming? It's overwhelming. It's okay, maybe not overwhelming, but it's definitely, it's a thing. It's a thing I'm coming to terms with. And I finally truly understand that quote, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. What happens when we grow, what happens when we expand, what happens when one becomes more visible is that you are really being seen. You are really being seen. Like, a lot of people are really looking at you, like they're looking and they're digging. And the introvert in me, the very private person in me, is having a mini meltdown. Actually, no, I think, okay, meltdown is exaggerating it. I am a bit dramatic. But I'm like, oh, wow, right. This is what I've low-key been avoiding for most of my entertainment career. If I'm being very honest with you guys here, I think I've always been comfortable with being seen, but not really being seen. I joke about it a lot, but one of my superpowers, let me put my legs up so we can really gist this gist. One of my superpowers is my ability to blend in if I need to, is to disappear. And I've used this power for most of my life, one way or another. And I've done this because I know that subconsciously I've always been aware of an inner shine that I have, an inner spark that I have that sometimes people can see. And the look in people's eyes when they see me, and it's this realization like, oh, I didn't notice you were so pretty, or oh, I didn't notice you were so this, I didn't notice you were so that. And that interest in the past would send me into hiding. Isn't that fucking crazy? That's crazy. You guys are really my therapist. Let me tell you something. I know my real therapist is going to be like, that's why this silly one has not come to therapy, but don't be angry, I'll be back. But that's the truth. This is a very vulnerable moment, and I'm going to share that. And in this season of Red Circle, I have committed, not just for the sake of the team and the project, but really for myself. And in the past couple of years, I've committed to truly go where I haven't gone before. I've always been called kind of bold and adventurous in my household, and like, oh, you do this. And I guess in different ways I have, because from quite young, I sort of towed a different path to what people around me expected. But this is different. This is a very different thing. And I wonder if there are other people out there, if you find yourself in a season of expansion, whether you are running the other way, and whether you're even aware that you're running the other way. Are you aware that you're hiding? Even the Bible says you shouldn't hide your light under a bushel. But there are so many of us that actually do. That the minute you begin to get a bit good or a bit bold, you start self-sabotaging. The minute you enter a great relationship, or you meet a great woman or a great man, you begin to scuttle it. You begin to poke at them or prod at them. You begin to say, hey, boss, I'm sure something will happen. You begin to just find every which way to tear down what looks like a fairy tale, because you don't believe on some level that you are worth that fairy tale or that dream coming true. Isn't that crazy? I'm not saying that's how I feel. I'm just saying that it's possible. That's how some of us feel out here. Welcome to the STORMCAST, ladies and gentlemen. Storms do be like that sometimes. They don't come to tear down, they just come to clear a path and make it new for you. The truth is, people love their limitations. The truth is, most people like their safe spaces and do not want to go beyond them. And most people will fight almost tooth and nail to stay in the exact same spot. And they don't even know that's what they're doing. So if you're listening to this, I believe it is because you need to hear it. If you are listening to this, I really believe it's because you need to hear it. Maybe somebody has shared this to you and this moment hit them. Because the frightening truth is, when we are being seen, we feel exposed. And it takes courage to be seen. At the center of all of this is the courage to be vulnerable. And I know vulnerability keeps coming up. Again, Brené Brown did her thing, but it's just the truth. In all aspects of life, we require courage, especially in growth and expansion. You have to be bold, and you have to be brave, and you have to be willing to do the thing that you've never done before. To go to a place that you've never been before. To get to that dream that you've never actually lived before. For me, I think where I'm sort of finding this courage daily and in different ways is in the tiny spouts of prayer I say all the time. I'm constantly out here just saying, God is good and God is great. And God, I thank you. It may not seem like a lot, but that's prayer. That's me, and that's prayer, and that's how I talk to the divine. And it honestly gives me courage. Like, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. That gives me courage. I talk to my ancestors who've passed, like by name. I call my people from the beyond. I'm like, yo, I really need you to show up for me right now. Like right now. Before I do anything, I'm like, please, come help your girl. I'm just out here. Before I open my mouth and I speak in public, I'm like, dear God, I'm just a vessel. In fact, like Temi Sam will say, if they laugh me now, you then they laugh. Because all of us were together. But I'm not joking. That's truly where I find my courage. And I know that the way that I believe and the way that I practice faith and the way that I interact with the divine doesn't follow any set, consistent patterns. But that's the way I was made. That's the way I was made, and that's the way that I communicate with the divine. But that I do is undoubted. That I am plugged into God is for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. And I will say that till the very end of my physical being in this experience of life. That's why I get the courage. That's why I keep talking about being plugged in and being anchored in something deeper than self, because really, if you really go deep enough into self, you realize that it's not just self, that yourself is a part of a whole. It's part of all things. It's part of the divine. It's part of you and you and you and you. It's part of everything. That's how deep it goes, because it goes deeper than just you. That's it. So if in this season of expansion, and if any one of you who are listening are also in a season of expansion, I encourage you to be courageous. I encourage you to try, to dare to be seen. I encourage you to live on the wild side. I encourage you to do the thing that you would never do. I encourage you. I dare you. Live. That's it. That's the thing for this week. Like, just live. Live courageously. Live audaciously. Live. Be seen. I dare you. I dare you. Just like I dare myself to be seen. So I'm going to be outside all this weekend. It is a holiday weekend here in Lagos, Nigeria, and it is Red Circle release weekend, so it's about to be really lit. I will be out and about in cinemas across Lagos, possibly Abuja, possibly Ibadan, possibly different places all this weekend. So make sure you're following my social media pages. Instagram, I'm pretty consistent on. Twitter and TikTok as well. So do hit me up. I'm at Follow Storms on all those platforms. And again, guys, everyone who's listening, first of all, thank you so much for listening, and I really appreciate you. And if you've listened this far, I want you to put up a fist emoji. Put up a fist emoji, because we are fighting for our lives out here. We are daring to be courageous, and that's how I feel. It's like the power to be truly who we are, and to truly grow into what we could be. I hope all of you lean into growth. I hope you lean into courage as you grow. I hope you lean into your vulnerability, which will become your superpower. And I hope that you just really learn to embrace your own visibility and allow yourself to be seen. So that's it for the Stormcast for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you do subscribe so that you know as soon as episodes come out. They come out every Wednesday. For those who've clocked it, that's what's happening. Every Wednesday I drop an episode. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Bye-bye.